white girl just came through with a chopper and killed my buddy. Get here ASAP.
Newly released 911 calls give us a frightening perspective of the Raleigh shooting rampage.
As police continue to investigate the path and the action of their alleged shooter, we continue to learn more about what happened.
Then we are hearing new accounts about each victim by those who knew them best.
Raleigh police and the community in mourning after an officer was shot and killed in a spree killing. We'll hear more about him and the family he left behind.
Little more than 24 hours ago, Raleigh was added to a list no one wants to be on. The list of cities mourning the loss of lives in a mass shooting.
This is a story that has touched thousands of you in our community and everyone here at WRAL. Right now, we want to bring you the information that we have about what happened and about how to heal. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Gerald Owens.
And I'm Deborah Morgan. Flags fly at half-staff today in honor of the 5 lives lost in yesterday's shooting and the families that will never be the same. These are the faces of a wife, an avid runner, a fiance, a police officer, and a high school junior.
They were someone's parents, someone's children, friends, all spoken highly of within their communities. We continue to learn more about the teenage suspect and what happened over those few hours last night. This shooting spree unfolded in different places, in an area stretching more than a mile. We've been able to piece the journey together using law enforcement radio traffic, and now the calls to 911. Police released the first calls to 911 in just the last 2 hours.
WRAL's Adam Owens listened to those calls and joins us now live with what they're revealing. Adam?
Yeah, I've been listening to those calls for the last couple of hours, and I want to tell you they are incredibly emotional, as you may assume. In some of these cases, the callers on the line were witnesses as a neighbor or a friend was shot.
I think I heard 3 or 4 gunshots.
Okay.
There were people screaming.
We have received several calls. It looks like there may be someone in the area that is shooting.
That call came in at 5:16. 911 had already received many others like it. It was becoming clear there were multiple victims, and the danger was not over.
It's going to be an active shooter at this time.
The first victims were found in the streets of this Hedingham community. This caller tells police they see a neighbor on the ground outside.
And we heard some shots outside, and I looked out my window, and the neighbor is on the ground, I think.
In another 911 call made around the same time, 5:12 p.m., the person on the line is in a panic. He watched his friend get shot. There is surprise in the voice of the 911 operator when the caller tells them this victim is a Raleigh police officer.
That white girl just came through with a chopper and killed my buddy. Get here ASAP. The officer, he works for he works for you. You said it's an officer?
A police officer was among those killed in the shooting. Police did not know where the suspect was. The victims left behind made it clear where he had been. 911 callers described the person officers should be looking for and where he was going.
He went back to the News River Trail.
On a nearby greenway, police found more victims.
RPD just made me aware that there is a female possible code 7 on the trail with a GSW to the head and 2 other patients. I need an EMS unit here.
The search for the suspect ended off Old Millburney Road. Raleigh Police Chief Estella Patterson says reports from residents to 911 played an important role. In all, 5 people were killed. The suspect that police say was responsible for all of this is in the hospital tonight at last check in critical condition. Deborah, you hear those 911 calls, and it even puts a better perspective, a bigger perspective on exactly what the people in this neighborhood lived through last night.
Boy, the more we hear, the more we learn, the more heartbreaking this is. Adam Owens, live in Raleigh. Thank you, Adam. Tonight, family and friends are sharing stories and photos of the loved ones they lost in that shooting.
WRAL's Chelsea Donovan joins us live from the Hedingham neighborhood. And Chelsea, it's going to be a long road to healing for these people.
Oh, no doubt about it. Everyone I've talked to today say they are numb. They are in shock. These are people that were just out walking their dogs, running on a trail, chatting with neighbors, even running to help. And now the families they leave behind are shattered. And these people simply don't understand why.
Tracy Howard sits beside bullet holes in his house.
I was the one who found them.
It's hard to fathom. He found his neighbor, 59-year-old Marcel Gardner, right next to his mailbox. She is fighting for her life at Wake Med. Then he found his beloved wife, 52-year-old Nicole Connors.
I seen her and the dog laying on this porch right here.
Connors died next to her 13-year-old dog.
Fun-loving person. She she knew everybody in the neighborhood.
Just down the road, Mary Marshall, another victim, called her fiance when she heard gunshots Thursday afternoon.
And said, hey, can you come home? Like, I hear gunshots. It's making me a little nervous. I'm heading back to the house.
Marshall, a Navy veteran, was gunned down here on the Greenway. She was walking her dog. Marshall had a birthday in 10 days and a wedding 5 days later.
She was more excited that all of her favorite people from across the world were going to be in the same place at the same time.
49-year-old Susan Kranitz was murdered on the same trail she ran every single day. An ultra runner, a wife, and a mother of 3 boys, ages 10, 13, and 14. Friends describe her as kind and always smiling. 16-year-old James Thompson, a junior at Knightdale High School, also killed in the rampage. He is the brother of the alleged shooter, 15-year-old Austin Thompson.
And back here in the community, you can see the growing memorial here at the entrance of Hedingham. 29-year-old Raleigh police officer Gabriel Torres also among the victims. Another Raleigh police officer was treated and released from Wake Med, and Marcel Gardner, who you heard about in that piece, she is still at Wake Med tonight in critical condition, fighting for her life. Back to you.
You know, Chelsea, I knew that today would be more difficult than yesterday when we learned who these victims were. And I'm certainly feeling that way right now. Thank you, Chelsea Donovan in Raleigh.
An image has been circulating on social media. This one right here. This has been circulating in the area today, offering support to the Raleigh Police Department, which lost one of its own. WRAL's Keely Arthur gained insight into the fallen officer's life.
A husband, a father, a Raleigh police officer, and a Marine. That's who Gabriel Torres was. The 29-year-old is also one of the 5 victims of a senseless East Raleigh spree killing. Killed while in plain clothes inside his car. But friends determined he not be remembered for how he died, rather his kindness and good nature.
He had a bubbly personality. Always up, smiling.
Torres leaves behind his wife, Jasmine, their 2-year-old daughter, Layla, who now will grow up without a father. And many neighbors in this Raleigh area in shock, not over just what happened, but what could have happened to them. In Raleigh, Keely Arthur, WRAL News.
And now we have new information just into the newsroom now about the suspect in this case.
This involves the injuries to the 15-year-old. Mark Boyles in the WRAL Live Center. Mark.
Gerald, we've been hearing Austin Thompson, the suspect in this case, was in the hospital with critical injuries. We've been looking to track down more information on that. One of my news managers just came over, and now we're ready to go on the air with the suspect does have a gunshot wound to the head and multiple other wounds. Those are the 2 pieces of information that's brand new right now at 6:07. The gunshot wound to the head and multiple other wounds. He is in critical condition. We'll continue to follow that as it possibly changes into this evening. But also new tonight, Sarah Kruger learning more about who this young man is and more details about his life.
The crime scene tape is down for the most part here in the Hedingham community now, except for right here. According to property records and sources, this is the suspect's home. Investigators have been back out here today bringing out bags of evidence. WRAL has learned that suspect Austin Thompson was a sophomore at Knightdale High School. This is his yearbook photo from last year. His 16-year-old brother James, who is among the dead, was a junior at the school. Wake County District Attorney Lauren Freeman says despite being a juvenile, because of how severe the crimes are, this would rise to the level of adult charges.
We are strong in our resolve that, one, we're going to make sure there is justice for our community in this instance, and that we are going to continue to work to try and prevent gun violence going forward.
I spoke with neighbors of the suspect who are also his classmates. They tell me they had known him for years and did not see any red flags. Sarah Kruger, WRAL News, Raleigh.
Knightdale High School, where both boys were students, has postponed their homecoming activities that were planned for tonight. The PTSA sent out a new schedule of events in the last hour. Tonight's football game will be played on Monday. The remainder of the homecoming activities will happen on senior night. That's October 28th.
Part of the Neuse River Greenway will remain closed after the shooting. Crews were on that section of the Greenway today, washing it down and trying to prepare it to reopen. The trail will remain closed between Buffalo Road and Anderson Point Park until police finish their investigation. The rest of the Greenway remains open. The city recommends people report any suspicious activity to Raleigh police by calling 911. When tragedy strikes, WRAL viewers have a reputation for stepping up and helping their neighbors in need. Coming up, we share ways for you to get involved to help those during this tragic time.
And this section of the brain is where making good decisions, that's the last part of the brain to develop.
And we are looking at why tragic events like this happen. Up next, WRAL's Monica Casey talks with mental health experts about the effects it has on the brain. Mike?
Gerald, last night's cold front brought us some minimal cooling today, but there's a whole lot more cooling well up to our north and west. I'll show you how it makes its way toward us in the coming days coming up.
Right now, as Americans tighten their budgets, big retailers are going all in on Black Friday sales now. We'll tell you where the deepest discounts are. Then a fun story about the pickleball craze, the pros and celebs on the sports big weekend tonight.
Live from WRAL News headquarters in Raleigh, your #1 source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
President Biden responded to the mass shooting with calls for an assault weapons ban, although the type of weapon used in yesterday's shooting hasn't been confirmed. The president released a statement which said in part, "Enough. We've grieved and prayed with too many families who have had to bear the terrible burden of these mass shootings. We must pass an assault weapons ban. Send it to my desk and I'll sign it."
One of the first questions communities ask after a mass shooting is why. The answer isn't always simple. WRAL's Monica Casey spoke with psychologists about common motives behind mass shootings.
Experts today tell me you cannot predict who is going to act violently, and it's important to check in with your loved ones. The motive for Thursday night's mass shooting remains unknown. Dr. James Bedford, an assistant professor of psychiatry at UNC School of Medicine, says many factors can lead to a tragedy like this.
Mass shootings in the past have resulted from many different causes: rage, extreme political or religious beliefs, hatred of others, whether racism or xenophobia.
He says in some cases, mental health can be a factor, but not all.
And we need to be careful in our response to this that we don't further the stigma that people with mental illness face. People with mental illness are more likely to be the victims of crime than perpetrators of crime.
Licensed clinical social worker Anita Daniels tells me one red flag could be a big change in personality.
And it can be that they shrink back, or it could be that all of a sudden they have so much personality and so much to say.
She also points out the brain is not fully developed until we are 25 years old.
And this section of the brain is where making good decisions, that's the last part of the brain to develop.
Those mental health experts also want to remind the community about the new crisis hotline, 988, that you can call anytime. Monica Casey, WRAL News in Durham.
Both experts also say monitoring your child's social media usage, including what they post and what they're seeing, is important. Well, when tragedy strikes, WRAL viewers have a reputation for stepping up and helping neighbors in need.
We've already heard from many of you who want to do the same thing now. WRAL's Chris Lovingood joining us now in the studio with some ways you can help. Chris?
Well, Deborah and Gerald, I'll tell you what, it's being done right now for these people. Members of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association are heading to that community, and the rapid response team has people available to provide comfort, to listen, and to cry with those who are mourning right now. There are also churches in the area serving food to people who would like bagged meals. Now, as for a way you can help, a GoFundMe page was launched by Back the Blue NC. That was to help the family of fallen Raleigh police officer Gabriel Torres. The goal is to raise $20,000, and so far about $8,700 has been donated to help the family. As for talking to children about what happened, Duke health psychologist Dr. Robin Gerwich has some advice. They say parents should learn what their children have heard and seen about a tragedy, and that is when you respond with factual, clear, and sensitive information.
Sometimes children may start to struggle at school or be more reluctant to go to school or be away from their family.
Experts explain if children or teenagers have a caring adult in their lives they can talk to, they're more likely to be able to process a tragic event. And I tell you what, Gerald and Deborah, I've spoken with some experts before who say, listen to your child. Let them get out what they have to say, hear them fully, and then put things into perspective.
You have to keep the lines of communication open. Thank you, Chris. The impact of last night's shooting will touch thousands of people in this community. Raleigh police officers, Knightdale High School, Hedingham residents, anyone who walks the greenways.
WRAL is standing with our community, and we have assembled a list of crisis counselors and mental health resources at WRAL.com/gethelp. You can find a county-by-county guide with information for children and adults.
And if there's someone you know in your family who could benefit from this information, pass that along to them.
Meteorologist Mike Mays joining us now in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. The sun is going down on a beautiful day, beautiful evening, Mike.
Yeah, cooler day than what we had yesterday, Deb. It was in the upper 70s yesterday. Today, low to mid 70s. The air significantly drier, so it will be a cooler evening. And we have our sunset in progress, looking pretty good over the Museum of Natural Sciences. 70 at RDU, the dew point 42. We had 73 for our high today. Cooling down already into the mid 60s for you folks over in Wayne County and Goldsboro. Dew point 49, 68 at Rocky Mount, 66 in Roxborough, 71 in Fayetteville. You had a high of 75. So your dog walk this evening will be cool, 68 for many of us to about 70 at 6 o'clock. Sunsets at 6:41, 7 o'clock 63, by 8 o'clock 59. If you're headed to dinner, maybe grabbing a pizza, you'll need your jacket. It's going to be a little cool out there this evening. Now we see a huge change in the jet stream configuration, and Kat and I all week have been talking about the colder air that's coming this week, and this is the broad area of low pressure in the upper atmosphere, and this will help bring colder air to our region next week. Now, we're already seeing some of the cold air. Look at this. There's blue. There's snow earlier today up in Wisconsin and Minnesota. Now it's just rained across parts of Illinois and getting into Michigan. This system will arrive Sunday night and Monday, bringing us the next opportunity for rain, and then the colder air gets here. And there's the cold. Winnipeg at 41, Minneapolis 41, even colder air up to the north into Canada. And so what we're looking at here are the upper level winds and the surface temperatures. And for the day on Sunday, we should be in the 80s. We'll be in the 80s tomorrow and very warm again on Monday, but there's the cool air surging to the south. And this is the surface freezing line. When we wake up on Tuesday morning, freezing temperatures likely in the mountains. In fact, a whole lot of folks are going to wake up to freezing temperatures, so there will likely be freeze warnings over the weekend, probably freeze watch, freeze warnings for our mountains, frost advisories as well. For us, Tuesday morning, we'll wake up into the 40s, but it will be different as we get into Wednesday morning. The freeze farther south into Alabama and Georgia, perhaps a freeze in some locations on an isolated basis by the time we get to Wednesday morning. Most of us will be in the mid 30s, which would allow for some frost. Likewise for the day on Thursday. Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock, still very chilly around here, but in the morning, there's the freezing line getting closer to us. So there is the possibility some could have a freeze in the morning on Thursday, a lot more of us in a frost. So clear and cooler tonight, 47 for Raleigh, 49 Fayetteville, 42 at Roxborough, 45 at Rocky Mount. Breezy and warm tomorrow. It's a temperature turnaround with that southwest wind ushering in the warmer air, 80, but the dew points will be in the 40s, so it will be a dry heat, so to speak, or dry warmth. And then for the day tomorrow, anywhere from 79 at South Hill, 83 Fayetteville, 81 Southern Pines. It'll be a beautiful day. Outdoor plans, no problems. Likewise, for most of Sunday, it's late in the day and into the evening. There will be some rain approaching the area. Right now, a 40% chance of rain Sunday, and into the morning to maybe mid-afternoon on Monday, a 30% chance of rain. And then boom, look at all the cold air. Upper 50s Tuesday, Wednesday for highs, morning lows in the 30s. It's time to decide what heavier jacket or coat you want to wear for next week. You're definitely going to need it to keep warm.
That sounds all right. Thank you, Mike. All right, still ahead. It can be hard to realize right now after what we've just been through, but after a tragedy like this, eventually comes the healing.
There's a community event happening right now to help those impacted by the shooting and start that process of healing. We'll take you there right after the break. Tonight, Raleigh is taking its first steps toward recovering from the tragedy. Neighbors are helping neighbors with a community event at Hedingham where all of this unfolded.
That's where we find WRAL's Aaron Thomas tonight. Aaron, set the stage for us there.
Yeah, Gerald, so obviously, this is where the healing process starts right now. So looking behind me, you have a church. You have these folks that came from a church out of Wake Forest. I spoke with one of the organizers. He says that they've recently started up a disaster response team maybe about a month ago. It's fairly new. He was saying that they were created for things like fires or hurricanes. You know, we did have Hurricane Ian not too long ago. But something like a mass shooting is the last thing that you expect to happen. Well, they're here now. They have all this new equipment, and now they have people that are coming to get things like Sloppy Joe sandwiches, cookies, drinks, chips, just to give folks something in their time of need. There's something to be said about food and fellowship. We've definitely seen a steady stream of people, mostly who live in the Hedingham community, come in to get a bite to eat. I even saw a few people that walked off, you know, kind of in tears, just thinking about some of the neighbors they may have known who sadly lost their lives, but also just thinking about the gesture. You have many good people coming together in time of need. We talk about other gestures. You also have the flags at half-staff here. That's going on, and then we've also seen a steady stream of folks coming by to leave bouquets of flowers. We also have candles lit as the night approaches. So it's really a all hands on deck effort as folks really look for healing. Folks are trying to keep their heads up as high as possible. There's one neighbor that I actually talked to who said that she's been out here for 3 years, and even though she lives on the other end of where this tragic shooting happened, a lot of what we're hearing is that this literally happened in my backyard. I go walking. I like to walk my dog. I like to go on a bike ride, and this simply could have been me. So a lot of folks are really just counting their blessings, but also trying to pull together in time of need. Back to you guys.
We're fortunate to have a lot of people with big hearts in this community. Aaron Thomas, live at Hedingham. Thank you, Aaron. We'll continue to learn more about this shooting over the coming days, and we'll stay on top of this story and its impact on people in this community.
We're minutes away now from NBC Nightly News, and you're going to see more coverage of this story there as well. This is a national story. Tonight at 7, we're going to continue our coverage as we continue to look deeper into the lives lost and the suspect in this case. We'll see you at 7.